The fall of Jack's Donuts. How a 60-year American brand collapsed under its own weight. It started as one of those American stories we all love to believe in. A small-town bakery, a family recipe, and a community that couldn't to start its day without a cup of coffee and a warm donut. But more than 60 years after it began, that dream is collapsing. In October 2025, Jack's Donuts, a once thriving franchise across Indiana and the Midwest, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. According to Newsweek and Fox 59 Indianapolis, the company listed more than $14 million in debts against roughly $1 million in assets. What went wrong? And what does the fall of Jack's Donuts tell us about the changing face of American business and the quiet death of the small-town franchise dream? Jack's Donuts began in 1961 in Newcastle, Indiana. Founded by Jack Markham Sr., it started as a local bakery where customers lined up before sunrise for fresh handmade donuts. It wasn't about fancy branding or national expansion. It was about quality and connection. For decades, Jack's Donuts stayed true to that formula, quietly building a reputation across the state. It was the kind of place where people didn't just buy donuts. They shared stories, met friends, and marked time. By the 2000s, the next generation, led by Jack Markham Jr. and his son Lee, saw an opportunity. Franchising was booming, and Lee Markham wanted to take Jack's beyond its hometown roots. Stores began opening across Indiana, and soon in states like Utah and Nevada. The donuts were consistent, the vibe was local, and the brand's motto, "Happiness is round," captured that small-town optimism. For a while the expansion worked, but beneath the glaze something was starting to crack. As the Indianapolis Star later reported, the turning point came when the company decided to centralize production. Instead of each franchise making its own donuts fresh every morning, the way Jack's always had, corporate leadership opened a massive commissary in Newcastle. From this single facility, pre-made dough and ingredients would be shipped out to every store. It sounded efficient. It was meant to cut costs, standardize quality, and streamline supply. But as Fox 59 later found, franchise owners began complaining almost immediately. Customers said the donuts didn't taste the same. Sales dropped. The stores lost the smell, the warmth, the small-town authenticity that had built Jack's name. And then came the lawsuits. Court filings from Delaware County, Indiana, show unpaid invoices from contractors, transport companies, and suppliers. A plumbing firm won a judgment of more than $100,000. A logistics provider claimed nearly $800,000 in unpaid freight bills. By 2025, creditors listed over $14 million in claims. For a company of Jack's size, that's catastrophic. Franchisees were feeling it too. Many said they'd been left in the dark, not told about the mounting debts, late shipments, or the company's deteriorating finances. In early 2025, several franchise owners published an open letter demanding the CEO's resignation. According to Newsweek, they accused corporate management of losing sight of what made the brand special. By spring, multiple stores had closed. Others were struggling just to stay afloat. In interviews with WTHR Indianapolis, former employees said morale collapsed. They described paychecks delayed, vendors unpaid, and a sense of confusion about whether the company could survive. And when the Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing hit court records in October, it confirmed what many had already suspected. Jack's Donuts was running out of time. But what exactly is Chapter 11? Unlike Chapter 7 bankruptcy, where a company shuts down and liquidates, Chapter 11 allows a business to reorganize its debts while continuing operations. It's essentially a pause button, an attempt to rebuild under court supervision. The company keeps running, but every dollar, every payment, every plan must be approved by the bankruptcy court. According to the filings, Jack's Donuts hopes to restructure, keep its commissary running, and maintain franchise relationships while settling debts with creditors. In theory, this means no one loses their job overnight, but in reality, the uncertainty can be devastating. For the people behind the counters, the franchise owners, the bakers, the morning shift workers, bankruptcy means more than balance sheets. It means anxiety, lost savings, and broken trust. Many franchisees invested tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars into their stores. Some used life savings, others took business loans based on promises of corporate support. Now, with declining sales and damaged reputation, many face personal financial ruin. According to Fox 59, at least 6 franchise locations had already shuttered before the filing. Customers showed up to find locked doors and empty counters. And what about the ordinary donut lovers? For many Midwesterners, Jack's wasn't just another fast food stop. It was nostalgia. A place tied to childhood memories, local fundraisers, and weekend routines. The decline of Jack's is more than a loss of pastries. It's a symbol of how fragile local business culture has become. As corporate America chases efficiency, authenticity often becomes the casualty. The warm smell of fresh dough is replaced by refrigerated shipments and cost-optimized logistics. Jack's Donuts was never a public company. It was privately owned, which means no shareholders or Wall Street investors to absorb the loss. Just families, franchise owners, and local lenders. That also means the bankruptcy hits closer to home. The debts aren't abstract numbers. They're unpaid invoices from small-town suppliers, truckers, and contractors who kept the business running. According to the Indianapolis Star, one of the largest creditors is an Indiana-based transport firm owed more than $780,000. For them, this isn't a corporate write-off, it's survival. As for the owners, the filings list CEO Lee Markham as continuing to lead the company through restructuring. Whether he'll emerge from the process unscathed remains unclear. In most Chapter 11 cases, leadership stays in place unless creditors push for removal. So far, there's been no public indication that Markham intends to step down. But the pressure is immense, from franchisees, from suppliers, and from the court overseeing every move. The story of Jack's Donuts fits into a larger pattern emerging across America. Since the pandemic, the U.S. has seen a wave of small to mid-sized franchise bankruptcies, from regional restaurants to family-owned chains. Rising ingredient costs, higher wages, and shifts in consumer spending have squeezed margins to the breaking point. According to a 2025 CNBC analysis, nearly 40% of small franchises report declining profitability compared to pre-pandemic levels. Customers want local charm, but often choose convenience, a paradox that's killing the very businesses that once defined Main Street. In that sense, Jack's Donuts isn't just one company's failure, it's a reflection of a broader American dilemma. How do small brands compete in an economy designed for giants? How do you preserve authenticity when efficiency is the only thing investors and consumers reward? Still, there's a deeper emotional weight to stories like this. For 60 years, Jack's represented something simple: comfort, community, continuity. And now, its downfall mirrors the erosion of those same values in modern business. The company that began as a symbol of togetherness now stands as a warning. When you trade quality for scale and connection for control, you might save money, but you lose your soul. Chapter 11 might give Jack's Donuts a second chance. If it can settle with creditors, rebuild trust, and return to its roots, the brand could survive. But even survival won't erase the scars left behind: unpaid workers, empty storefronts, and communities that feel betrayed. And whether Jack's ultimately emerges stronger or quietly fades into memory, one truth remains: growth without grounding eventually collapses. For customers, maybe it's just donuts. For franchise owners, it's livelihoods, pride, and legacy. For America, it is another chapter in the story of how small dreams get lost in the machinery of modern capitalism. As Newsweek wrote, the downfall of Jack's Donuts marks the end of an era for one of Indiana's most recognizable brands. But maybe it is also a chance to remember why these local businesses matter, because they connect us to each other, not just to commerce. The lesson? That progress isn't always forward, that faster, cheaper, bigger isn't always better, and that sometimes the most important ingredient in any business isn't efficiency, it's heart. Jack's Donuts may one day recover, or it may become just another forgotten brand on the long list of American bankruptcies. But for everyone who ever stood in line before sunrise, sharing a coffee and a laugh over a simple donut, it will always mean something more. This is the historian's lens, where every story of rise and fall reminds us that history isn't just in books, it's baked into the world around us.